Well, the site of demonstrations outside U.S. Coast Guard Base Alameda was a crime scene for hours, but things have calmed down this evening. And our cameras were rolling last night as shots were fired at a truck that tried to speed through the gate. Coast Guard security forces opened fire on that U-Haul truck as it drove backwards toward the entrance to the base. It happened after a day of protests over President Trump's now scrapped immigration surge operation. And today, the Coast Guard has put up brand new barriers blocking the bridge. But already we've seen some chaotic moments of cars apparently getting confused and trying to drive in. Our Brad Hamilton has been out there all day long. And Brad, what can you tell us and what does it look like right now?
Yeah, Ryan, right now it's been really calm, and that's basically been the theme throughout the day. But there has been that heightened tension and confusion. And we're going to give you some examples here. So earlier today, this morning, an elderly woman appearing to go to the base, driving to the base to pick something up, had no idea about the road closures. And as she gets towards the gate and that new barrier, law enforcement is screaming at her, telling her to stop, turn around. Eventually, they have to fire a deterrent. She stops the vehicle. She's clearly confused. She eventually gets turned around, drives away. But then again, just about an hour ago, the same thing happened. I think we're going to pull some video up. This happened just over an hour ago. A man appears to be doing the same thing. He's driving up to the base, has no idea about the road closures, the barrier, the situation. As he gets closer again, law enforcement screaming at him, and eventually fires that deterrent once again. He stops the vehicle. He briefly gets out. He talks to law enforcement, and then eventually he drives back around and he is okay. And that's just one of the many examples here where the tension's been so high, and all of it comes as this spot is now the center of an FBI investigation. KPIX photojournalist Rick Villaroman's camera was rolling around 10 p.m. Thursday night when a person driving a U-Haul sped in reverse towards the island's bridge barrier and Coast Guard security personnel, who then began firing rounds at the truck. The driver then quickly drove forward, away from the officers. The U.S. Coast Guard said in a statement the vehicle was driving erratically, and law enforcement officers opened fire after issuing commands to the driver to stop. In an update from the FBI tonight, they say that the driver was released from the hospital and is now in custody. The person's identity has not been released, but protesters say they had seen this person hanging around the demonstration earlier in the day. Another bystander was injured in the gunfire, and both are expected to recover. No Coast Guard personnel were injured.
The part that was crazy is how many rounds they fired. They probably fired well over 50 rounds, it felt like.
Justin Hertzer saw it all unfold and described the driver's behavior in the moments before.
He was just driving really slow down the road this whole time, probably 10, 15 miles an hour, probably getting ready to do whatever he was going to do. He was probably pretty psyched out because, like I said, he had systems down, I think toxicity going really loud.
The incident playing out after a day of protesting at the Coast Guard base, where some Border Patrol agents had arrived for an immigration operation that President Trump has since called off. As a crowd gathered for a second day of protesting, what happened last night appeared to add a new sense of heightened tension.
Get my cars through there so we can stop over there, so I'm just asking you guys to move.
Friday morning, around 11, we witnessed a confrontation between protesters and CHP officers trying to get their vehicles through the entrance to the base.
Does it have anything to do with ICE?
But a chain of people blocked them, so they went through on foot to provide security on the other side. About an hour later, an elderly woman drove past protesters and up the entrance of the base. As she approached, security screamed at her to turn around. We could hear several popping noises as she approached, and witnesses say she was hit by pepper spray balls. But she did stop, visibly shaken, and turned around and eventually drove away. From there, the tension seemed to dissipate. Occasionally, someone would walk up and talk to the guards.
Why did you go up there? What did you say?
I wanted to talk to them.
What did you want to say?
I wanted to ask them questions about why in the heck they're here.
But for the most part, the few dozen protesters still here stayed together a good distance away from the gate. signs in hand, asking drivers to honk on their way by. Despite the fact that Border Patrol agents have already been redeployed, their mission canceled in the Bay Area, those that came say the threat alone was enough to show up today.
It feels like a moment where I, as an individual, really can make a difference just by coming out and being in the street.
Organizers here say that they are planning to continue protests into the weekend. And as you heard, the FBI with that update tonight saying that the U-Haul driver is out of the hospital now and in custody. And a final thing, Brian, we all know photojournalists are the key to all of this. Rick Roman was here today. He's the one doing this live shot right now. That's the man that got that video last night. No days off for him, and still putting up a really good fight here, probably going on almost no sleep.
Yeah, Rick is an old school news guy. We all know that. All right, thanks. Brad Hamilton reporting live outside the Coast Guard Alameda base. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says she saw the video of the protest last night and called it horrific.
I'll tell you what, last night was not a good example of what the mayor is accomplishing and what the people in that area are accomplishing. To see this violent individual use a truck to try to break into our Coast Guard base and to ram those individuals and threaten the lives of the individuals who serve in our Coast Guard was horrific. And we won't stand for that anymore.
Noem says she talked with President Trump about that incident, and they agreed that that was the area's one chance, and they feel the military is threatened. They will be forced to intervene. In the meantime, a local union held a one-day strike in San Francisco today to protest the president's actions against immigration policies.
Say it loud, stay clear. Immigrants are welcome here.
This was outside the federal building in San Francisco. The union represents legal service workers. They want an end to deportations, to abolish ICE and create amnesty for undocumented immigrants.
And we also want a right for all of us. There has been almost 40 years without immigration reform, and millions of people live in the shadows without rights.
Organizers say they're getting ready to petition the Labor Council for a nationwide strike for immigrant rights. In the meantime, Governor Newsom says it is ridiculous that President Trump ever thought about sending federal agents into San Francisco in the first place. In an exclusive interview with CBS Sunday Mornings, the governor touted the strides his hometown is making post-pandemic, including historic drops in crime.
The city's coming back in a big, big way. He couldn't even make up a pretense for this. No protests going on. There's nothing happening. It was laughable. That's why we had the lawsuit ready to go. To your question, my answer, lawsuit's ready to go. We already had 43 lawsuits. It's only been 40 weeks of this presidency. That would have been 44. Second he does it, we'll be in court.
You can hear more from the governor's interview this weekend on CBS Sunday Morning.